Welcome back to Inside the Mind, the 2025 edition of the Missouri S&T Athletics podcast. Luke Kotcher, alongside here with GLVC champion, I should say, Todd DeGraffenreid, head baseball coach. And Coach, how are things going?
Things are good. Thanks for doing this. This is a good platform to be able to get some information out to some followers. And, really had an opportunity to kind of soak things in the last couple of weeks before we kind of hit the trail recruiting and start this cycle all over again and move towards hopefully another GLVC championship.
Yeah, so I guess I'll ask that about you first. GLVC champion, first time ever in program history. Does it still feel real yet? We're kind of just started June out here. Does it feel real just yet?
I still pinch myself from time to time. 22, 23 years of grinding baseball and being around the guys and to have that opportunity to lift the trophy and watch our guys celebrate on the field. It still seems a little bit surreal.
Right.
But it's soaked in a little bit.
Yeah. You've been around the game of baseball a long time. Where does that kind of weekend just rank for you in your career?
Coaching, right? It's the best moment that, I've experienced.
Right.
Baseball wise, it's right there with the league championship that I had as a player. My rookie year of professional baseball, we won the league. So it was an absolutely more emotional as a coach. The tears were flowing. Cody and I had a moment together and had a moment with a few players as well that, as a player myself, I didn't have those same emotions.
Right.
It was totally different, but both phenomenal experiences.
Yeah. And you guys went in as the 7th seed in the tournament, and then you lose your first game against UIS. What's kind of the mindset there? Your next loss, the season's over, but then you rattle off 6 straight. So
yeah, it was just the resilience factor. We kind of back up a little bit. Is the last game of our regular season. We lose a very disappointing game to Lincoln. And, I think that right there would shake anybody's confidence. We knew we were going to the conference tournament, but to have that kind of let down the very end of your regular season, and then you go into the conference tournament and then you lose again, your confidence is shook. And then you come back out the next day and play Maryville. You have a 5-hour rain delay against those guys. And you could see where the guys started to get their confidence back in that game. And then we come back and play Quincy, a tough one. And we built confidence in that game. And then we win an extra inning game against UMSL. And it just kind of kept building on itself layer after layer. And you see guys starting to believe in their abilities again and what they're capable of doing. And it finally, it comes to fruition with getting an opportunity to play Springfield again in the championship game, and it was a completely different story.
Yeah, right. Let's kind of go back up, beginning of the season. Guys were picked 9th in the conference. Maybe some coaches didn't believe you guys could get to where you were, but what was your guys' mindset kind of going in? You had a tough non-conference slate to start the year, right?
Yeah, we look back at 2024. We missed the conference tournament by half a game.
Right.
And I think a lot was a mindset of, we just want to get there. We just want to get there, right? Well, and if you fall a little bit short, you're not going to make it, right? Where our mindset this year from the get-go was we want to win this.
Yeah.
We're not going to be happy with just being there. We're beyond that. And we saw what that mindset did to us a year ago. So we're like, we want to win this. We don't want to be the 7th seed or the 8th seed. Now we ended up being the 7th seed.
Right.
But it was just the mindset of, kind of how we approached every day of, not being complacent with just mediocrity. We want to push to win. We wanted to win the regular season. And then you go in as the 1 seed, right? And then you give yourself some cushion. We had a tough a tough-ish, non-conference schedule. We play Harding twice.
Yep.
You play Pittsburgh State twice. Both of those teams were NCAA tournament teams. Harding wins their conference tournament. Our conference schedule was above average. I'm sure there was tougher schedules out there because you don't play everybody.
Right.
So that brings in a whole different level of adversity and kind of how teams approach their scheduling. And it was all the ups and downs prepared us for the conference tournament. Coach Gardner told our guys a few times, because we had some really good weekends. We had some good stretches during the season. He's like, you guys don't understand how close you really are to being special.
Yeah, I think one of the best stretches of the season came after your loss to Harding at our place here. But you win the series at Maryville, and you come back home, beat McKendree, I should say, 3 out of 4. And then you go to Harding, number 17 ranked, 13-0. You blanked them on the road at their place.
Yeah, that was one of those, like you said, those stretches where we were playing some really good baseball. And, that's not an easy thing to do. We'll go to Maryville, win a series at their place. I feel like, and our guys will tell you the same thing, we probably should have swept McKendree. They were a better team at the end of the year than they were at that point in the season. And then go on the road and absolutely have one of the most complete games I've ever seen a team play, from pitching to situational hitting to defense, and to do that on the road against a very good team.
Right.
That was one of those moments where you tell your team, hey, you guys could be special. And, when you play like that, again, it's baseball, right? You play 50 regular season games.
Right.
And, you're going to have some ups and downs. You're going to get baseballed a little bit. You're going to lose some games maybe you should win. You're going to win some games maybe you should lose.
Yeah.
But, when a team can come out and be that consistent over, that stretch of the schedule, that said a lot.
I want to talk about some specific players here. We'll start with your guy, Drew Bogus, a .393 batting average this season. Was a second-team honoree, but he broke the all-time record in stolen bases at Missouri S&T. That's a tough feat to do, but he was 38 for 42 on the bases this season.
Yeah, Drew is a sophomore and started last season and this season as kind of our number 4 outfielder. Wasn't a regular in the lineup to start. He was forced into a starter role last year when Jack Bell breaks his thumb, and handled it really well for a freshman. Really couldn't have asked anything more from the kid. And then this year gets an opportunity and grabs the bull by the horns and just runs with it. He's got special speed. There's not many human beings on this planet that can run like him. And then you pair that with his intelligence, and he's able to do some things. I expect and he expects that he's going to steal more bases next year than he did this year.
Yeah. I remember talking to Jake Schisler at one point during the year, and he said having him in the outfield next year is just going to be insane for the defense, and just being able to grab every ball that comes his way. It's important, right?
Yeah, he's a good defender as well. Obviously, he has the speed, which makes up for if you don't get a good jump, or you don't read the ball really that well off the bat.
Yeah.
His speed will help make up for it. And then, the arm is there. He can throw it. And then in our lineup, we expect he's going to be somewhere at the top of that order next year.
And I'll talk about the first teamer, Will Beckham, as a designated hitter. A .596 slugging percentage this season. Blasted 7 home runs, 7 doubles, 3 triples as well, and had 90 total bases. What did he give you during this regular season for your squad?
Just consistent at bats. It was like he could go through a weekend and not really wow you at times, but it was just kind of that chip away mentality. He wouldn't go out there and hit 2 home runs in a double or 3 doubles in a weekend or anything like that. It was just very consistent approach with Will. And he had an OPS over 1,000. When you can do that, not very many guys in lineups do that. If you've got 3 or 4 guys in your lineup that have an OPS over 1,000, you've got a pretty special offense usually.
Yeah.
We had a couple guys there, Bogus being one of them. But it was just a consistency factor, and that really kind of was a tribute to kind of his approach every single day. He's one of the first guys at practice. He's early to early work. He stays late and hits. We have a saying with our guys, the guy that hits often hits. And that he's the epitome of that.
We'll talk about second baseman Bryson Smith, GLVC co-freshman of the year. He came in the spring, a transfer from Mizzou. Just kind of walk me through that whole process of coming from Missouri.
Yeah, I've known Carrick Jackson at Mizzou for a very long time, and he had reached out to me after Bryson had gotten in the portal and said, hey, this is a guy you may want to take a look at. He has got a ton of athletic ability. And he just needs to get time on the field, and it may not have been, and that wasn't going to be the situation for him this spring at Mizzou. Bryson wanted to play. He wanted to pursue a quality education, and we had Bryson down for a visit in December, and he loved it. And basically committed 2 days later, and I told Bryson, I said, man, you're coming in at semester. I go, that's a tough adjustment. And getting to know teammates and getting acclimated to campus life and school. And I go, just take it a little bit at a time. Don't put any pressure on yourself to be like, oh, I've got to come in and be the guy.
Right.
Because you don't need to do that to yourself. That's not fair to you. And I go, you're going to get some opportunities, and if you can win the job, then it's yours. If not, this will be a great experience for you to kind of come in and get your feet wet at the college level. And he's another one of those workers, like Will Beckham. The guy is relentless, and and that he's relentless in the classroom. He's relentless, on the baseball field. Again, he's the early to early work. He's hitting on days off when we don't really have anything scheduled, and he got an opportunity to kind of let his athleticism show consistently throughout the year, and he took a hold of it.
Definitely. I want to move over to your starting rotation. This season, your whole pitching as a whole, a 5.4 ERA. That's one of the tops in the league. Talk about your starters a little bit. Jake Schisler, Dylan Bates, Morrow, Hedgecourt. Talk about those 4 guys and how they performed this season for you.
Yeah, those guys Hedgecourt was a real pleasant surprise.
Yeah.
And it was good to see Schisler evolve into being a rotation guy after being a key to our bullpen last year. Our starting pitching took a hit early when McBroom goes down injured. Halfway through his second start of the season. That was very unfortunate because we were just starting to see what his potential was. And he was dominant. The bright side was it was early enough in the season that we can kind of move some things around and start seeing some guys in some different spots and give them some opportunities. And Hedgecourt was one of those guys who was kind of forced into being a rotation guy at that point. We recruited Andrew as a shortstop. And I knew that he had pitched in high school. The thing was, at the end of his senior year, he had shoulder surgery. He had kind of tore up his shoulder a little bit. So he didn't participate or do much in the fall of his freshman year for us. And then in the spring, he split time at second base. And then a year ago this summer, he's out in summer league and he's pitching and he's having some success. And he's like, coaches, can I pitch next fall? And I'm like, Andrew, we'll give you a chance. And he came in and he was throwing 3 pitches for a strike and he had some good movement on his fastball. And we're like, all right, well, maybe we've got something here. So then that evolves into the role that he was in for us this spring. And then at the end of the year, he's like, what do you think about me just being a pitcher only? And I'm like, I'm all for it, man. I think that's kind of where you're going to be the most impactful. Not that he can't go out and play infield for us. He would be fine. And I would be fine putting him out there. But if he's going to really blossom into a really, really good pitcher, it could be as a PO. So we're gonna go that route.
And we'll talk about your bullpen as well. Lockdown, Jacob Cook, Bodie Jabink, but some surprises in there as well. Lucas Riebling, Xander Street, 2 freshmen that got in there and performed really well for your guys.
Oh man, we don't win that conference tournament without those guys.
Yeah,
there's no way. Xander comes out, closes a game against Umsel, and then starts the next game, and then Rebling piggybacks off him. Both of those guys were red shirts when we started the season, and we had conversations with them. Hey, it's just not your time. Okay, you're getting there. You've shown some growth. You're doing some great things. But sometimes it's not just about you. It's kind of what's around you that kind of we have to make those decisions. And we wanted to give some guys some opportunities and not use a year of eligibility on 6-7 innings for those guys.
Yeah.
And we got into a spot where, we need some strikes.
Yeah.
And Cody and I both knew that Xander, it's one thing these two guys do is they throw strikes, and they throw a lot of strikes. So we gave him a chance. Xander's first outing went about as expected. Yeah. He got touched up a little bit against a really good team. And then, he pitched some really big innings for us down the stretch. And then obviously in the conference tournament, and Rebling the same thing. Yeah. The only times Rebling ever really kind of struggled a little bit was that start against Upper Iowa. And we just you know what? Maybe you're just a bullpen guy. Yeah. And he was great in it.
Yeah, definitely. Let's talk about your senior class a little bit. You got a lot of seniors that you honored this year, specifically a lot of starters in there, Ty Prince, Nick Krodinger, along with some of your bullpen guys, Cook and Jabing. Kind of talk about the rest of your seniors and what you kind of expected from them when they came in and kind of how they performed in their 4 years.
We'll start from the position player standpoint. The good thing is we're getting Krodinger back. He's coming back. He's going to use his 5th year. So we're getting him back.
Breaking news.
Yeah, we're breaking it right here on the mind. Okay. Ty Prince, a really steady guy for us. Had some highs and lows this spring, but was really pretty steady overall. Played really good defense at third base. We're gonna have we'll have a hard time replacing that defense, no matter which direction we go. But was really solid there. Jack Bell. All conference guy as a junior. I didn't really have the numbers this year offensively, but defensively may not be a better center fielder in the conference.
I believe in his 4-year career, he had 1 error between his last school and Missouri S&T.
No kid. Well, that speaks volumes. And then on the pitching side, Bodie Jabink was a grad transfer this year from Westminster.
Yep.
We expected him to come in and kind of be a high leverage guy, and he was. He had a really good year for us. I felt like maybe he could have been all conference. Yeah. Maybe got snubbed a little bit in that regard. Cook was a guy who was just kind of one of those guys that comes in as a freshman. He's a little bit better his sophomore year, a little bit better his junior year, and then senior year. Really put a lot of pressure on him to perform, and he came through more times than not. We kind of found a role that fit him the best, and it wasn't the 9th inning. When we started pitching him in innings other than the 9th, he really seemed to do a lot better. And then we've got some other guys, Nate Watka, that I want to say a little bit about. Who, you look at his numbers, nothing's going to jump off the page at you, but the guy went through a lot in his 5 years at S&T. Learning a lot about himself academically, but also himself as a baseball player. He had thoracic outlet, and they had to go in and remove a rib, and he had to come back from that surgery, and had a lot of problems leading up to that point. That it seems like he was spending as much time in the training room as he was on the baseball field, but was really happy for him to be able to get back out and compete, in something that, a sport that you've really kind of invested your whole life at. Right. To be able to get out there and still be able to compete a little bit. So, we're gonna miss those guys.
Yeah, definitely. I want to move to the after the GLVC tournament. You guys had the privilege to go into the NCAA Regional. Maybe not the result you wanted, but how was that experience for you and your guys? You haven't been there in a little bit now.
Yeah, it was 9 years. I think it was 9 seasons.
16.
So since 2016. So I was, doing the math in my head that my first season was 2004. as a head coach here, and then we make the NCAA tournament in 11, and then a couple years later we go back in 16, and then this is like the longest stretch I've had since getting back to the national tournament. It was a great experience. The format's a little bit different now than it was in 16. In 16, it was a double elimination 18 tournament, where we made a very similar run to the conference tournament, where we lose the first game of the tournament and have to come all the way back through the losers bracket. But you get on and you get on that stage, you've got some tight margins for error, right? You don't get the same opportunities to score runs maybe that you get during the regular season. It's the teams. The teams are the best. So it was a phenomenal experience. To be able to get back up there. We played some good baseball. It's just that those teams are good. And we got out to a 6-2 lead on Grand Valley and got baseballed a little bit. Had some balls that hit the ground that normally we catch. It's no excuse. It's baseball a lot of times. And we ended up losing that game and then lose to Lewis the next day. But a great experience for our guys. It's kind of where you kind of hope your program evolves to, is like you want to be a perennial NCAA tournament team. You don't want to just catch lightning in a bottle once every 8 years. Right. You want to be able to sustain that. And that takes a lot of things. That takes good support from your administration. That takes good players. Obviously, you've got to have talented individuals, but you've got to have good guys too that understand what it means to be a good teammate. And have a trust, caring, and respect mentality every day when they come to the park, and how they interact with their teammates and kind of how they pursue excellence within the game of baseball.
And I'll kind of ask you that next. You got a whole summer and fall to kind of recoup, and you'll get a new class coming in as well. How does that class and the rest of your guys hope to build on this and then, get back to the GLVC tournament and hopefully the NCAA regional as well?
Well, yeah. I mean, we're losing some key contributors this year, but we're returning a lot of core guys that played significant roles for us this spring. So now it's about battling the burden of expectation, right? Well, hey, we won the conference tournament. We're returning a bunch of guys. We're kind of expected now maybe to get there and do it again, right? But it's really, the process remains the same. Right? You go out every day and you do the things fundamentally that are going to make you good on game days, and you try to be as consistent with that and not try to get ahead of yourself, because if we start thinking about, well, hey, we did it last year, we got to do it this year, well, now you start pressing, right? And when you're pressing, you're never the best version of yourself. So it's going to be an interesting approach that Coach Gardner and I have to take with our guys to kind of keep them in the moment, keep them present, not in the past or in the future, but keep them in the present. And then obviously the freshmen, I think that's great for them. Because now they know that there's a standard here. That we have to come in and work, and because we're expected to win now. Right. So I think that's good for them.
All right. Well, Coach, that'll do it for us on the first episode of Inside the Mind. Thank you, Coach, for joining us on the debut 2025 episode, and we'll see you next time.
I appreciate it, Luke. Thanks.